Elsa stormed the living room, almost sending her 19-year-old daughter, Nadia, into panic. The look on Elsa's face screamed everything was wrong.
What is it?
Nadia demanded.
I can't find my wallet.
Elsa responded. Oh no. Nadia knows her mother can't afford to misplace that particular wallet. It contained not only her credit and debit card and IDs, it was the last gift Collins, Elsa's late husband, gave to her before he died. In that wallet is a picture of the family's last moment together. Nadia tried to make her mother relax, but Elsa was too anxious to even think straight. They ransacked every corner in the house and still couldn't find it. Nadia talked her mother through the last time she had the wallet and the places she visited since then. The single mother couldn't recall how and where she had misplaced the wallet. All Nadia could do was try to make her mother feel better. The mother and daughter had a brief chat that evening before they both retired to their beds. As Elsa laid on the bed, thoughts about her late husband filled her head. Collins always knew what to do in such situation. He was the only one who could really calm her down. Collins and Elsa were high school sweethearts, and everyone was looking forward to their marriage after college. Collins died of blood cancer shortly after Nadia was born, leaving Elsa with the responsibility of raising Nadia alone. Even though her teenage daughter became the best part of her life and the only thing that truly mattered to her, she still cherished everything that reminded her of Collins. Losing the wallet and all its contents really made her sad, but she had to sleep it off the night. 2 days later, while Elsa and Nadia were having their breakfast, there was a knock on the door. Elsa got up and answered the door. Jonathan, a handsome young middle-aged man, stood at the door with a soft grin on his face. Elsa responded, but couldn't keep the curiosity from her face. Jonathan didn't need any question to know that the single mother was waiting to know why he was on her doorpost that early in the morning. Body reached into his pants pocket and brought out Elsa's missing wallet.
Good morning, ma'am. I found this around the Central Park yesterday.
Oh, mine goodness. Nadia, my wallet.
Nadia rushed to the front door in excitement and curious to know who it was that brought the good news. She saw her mother in a warm embrace with the Good Samaritan. She smiled at the young man and appreciated his kindness. While Jonathan turned to walk away, Elsa asked his name and offered to make him breakfast, but Jonathan declined and only told her his name. Elsa insisted, and Jonathan agreed to have dinner with the family on a later date, stating that he was running late to a meeting. The mother and daughter understood and let the gentleman be on his way. They were both excited to have the wallet back. Elsa checked the contents and found everything intact. On the evening of the dinner with Jonathan, Elsa took her time to prepare grilled turkey with rice and a special sauce her mother taught her. Nadia felt her mother was being too extra with the dinner. She made it look like a truly special occasion, but her mother dismissed her. She said she was only trying to show gratitude to the gentleman. The teenager didn't complain any further. At least they didn't have to wear any special outfit for the evening. Jonathan showed up later, looking lovelier than he was the morning they first met. His smiles were particularly charming to Nadia, and he smelled so nice that the young girl had to compliment his fragrance. They talked a little about the fragrance and other scents that they both admired. Elsa was excited that her teenage daughter could freely talk about other things with Jonathan. Jonathan complimented the food as soon as he tasted it. He inquired about the sauce, and Elsa let Nadia do the honors of explaining the sauce to him. He was thrilled and grateful at how far the family had to go just to make him have a good dinner with them. They had a seeming quiet dinner, even though Nadia had so many topics she wanted them to talk about. She had to put them on hold until after the dinner. Nadia wasn't the only one noticing Jonathan's calm and good eating habit. Her mother, too, thought he had a good eating habit. At the end of the dinner, they spent an hour talking about life in the city. Jonathan told the mother and daughter that he moved into the city 3 weeks ago and was still trying to settle in and get used to the city.
We've found it. Well then, I'm sure we can help you settle in, if that's okay with you.
Elsa offered. Jonathan smiled and nodded at her offer.
If it's not too much for you two, I would really love it. Who wouldn't want to hang around with you too?
Jonathan asked rhetorically. Elsa and Jonathan traded contacts after the dinner, which Nadia didn't quite like. When Jonathan was gone, Elsa talked with her daughter about him. They both expressed what they noticed about the Good Samaritan, but Elsa was only singing of the young man's praise. She also mentioned how Nadia started at him like she was falling for him, but Nadia argued that she was only admiring the things she particularly liked about him. The young girl started noticing her mother spending more time on the phone with Jonathan. She felt her mother was not being careful enough. Was her mother already in love with Jonathan? The two of them started going out more often, and Nadia didn't like it. She thought Jonathan was behaving like a typical predator in a romance novel. A part of her wanted to share her worries with her mum, but felt it was too soon to raise any suspicion. 2 months from the day they had the first dinner, Elsa realized that she was in love with Jonathan. Every minute she spent with him only reminded her of what she was missing. Nadia also noticed this too about her mother. Elsa raised the idea of starting a relationship with Jonathan, and Nadia discouraged it. She argued that she didn't like how Jonathan's past was obscure and how he barely talked about himself. Elsa dismissed Nadia's worries. She claimed Jonathan wasn't much of a talker. Elsa never visited Jonathan's house. In fact, they didn't know exactly where he lived, except for the block he pointed to the single mother. Why was he always in their apartment? He told them he was a freelance IT expert, but didn't specify his field in IT. The more Nadia dug deeper into Jonathan's life, was the more she learned that they knew nothing about him. He was close to them like a family, but in reality, he was a perfect stranger. Nadia became more serious with her worries, but her mother didn't budge. Ironically, Elsa was behaving like a teenager in love. It was like the mother and daughter switched roles. Nadia took it upon herself to know more about her mother's strange lover. Jonathan was a smart young man. He always gave vague answers to her questions, which usually got Nadia angry at him. It didn't take long into the relationship for Jonathan to ask for money from Elsa. This made Nadia more suspicious of him, but Elsa didn't care. She willingly gave him the money. Soon, Jonathan needed more money to facilitate the building of an app that he has been working on for years. Of course, Elsa gave him. She was a successful independent single mother, a life she built for herself, even before she got married. Jonathan's schemes were becoming glarier to Nadia, but not to Elsa. She believed Jonathan was in her mother's life like a leech, latching on to her mother's wealth. The relationship was a parasitic one, and her mother was the host. The teenager became fed up with Jonathan and wanted him out of their lives. One day, while Nadia was alone at home, Jonathan came visiting as usual. He inquired about Elsa, but Nadia paid him no mind. He pressed again, but instead of the response he wanted, Nadia poured water on him from a water glass that she was holding. Jonathan was devastated at her attitude. He stormed out of the house and immediately contacted his girlfriend. Elsa was furious with Nadia for such disdainful behavior. She cautioned her daughter not to ever get in the way of her relationship. Nadia couldn't believe that her mother would let a stranger come between them. After all they've been together as a family, Elsa accused her teenage daughter of being selfish. She claimed the teenager was jealous because Jonathan was getting some of the attentions that she wanted. However, Nadia told her mother that she was only trying to protect her from the stranger in their home. As far as Nadia was concerned, Jonathan was still a stranger and will remain a stranger until he proved otherwise.
Have I not tried enough? It's been over 14 years since your father died, and I have respected his name and sacrificed my needs and desire for this family. I expect you to understand this, now that you're older.
Elsa stated,
Please, Mom, don't get me wrong. I am not saying you shouldn't find love again. I only want you to rethink your decision with Jonathan. He is not the man he claims to be. He doesn't love you.
If he doesn't love me, then what does he want?
Elsa demanded.
I don't know yet, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Give me some time to figure him out.
Elsa was so in love to see beyond her nose. She was mad that her teenage daughter was trying to check her love life out of jealousy, but chose to hide it under the guise of trying to protect her. The single mother gave her daughter a final warning to stop trying to get in the way of her relationship with Jonathan. Otherwise, she would send her to go and live with her Aunt Christie. Nadia never liked staying with Aunt Christie. She calls her the wicked aunt because her aunt would strip her of every freedom she had. Nevertheless, the teenager was hell-bent on uncovering the truth about her mother's strange lover. One day, Nadia trailed Jonathan to his block, trying to know his apartment. He almost caught her before she could find out which of the apartments on the block belonged to him, but she hid herself in plain sight. Nadia watched from afar as Jonathan entered an apartment. She was excited to have finally known where he lived. 2 days later, Nadia went to the apartment while Jonathan was out with her mother. She ransacked the apartment for anything that would reveal his real identity and intentions, but the stranger was careful enough to not leave any clue in sight. The lass was undeterred and resolute to find something to prove to her mother. Finally, she found a caricature drawing of a man and a boy on a piece of paper that was written by a 5-year-old. The sender addressed Jonathan as Dad and also stated that they were missing him. She took the piece of paper with her in excitement. That evening, Jonathan finally showed Elsa his apartment, but they both noticed that some things were out of place. The apartment looked like someone was in there, looking for something. Elsa told Jonathan to inform the authorities, but Jonathan said no, that nothing was missing. He suspected Nadia was behind the act, but kept it to himself. When Elsa got home, her daughter was waiting for her in the living room, with a drawing and ready to spill.
I got you the evidence you needed about Jonathan.
Nadia said with satisfaction on her face.
Did you break into Jonathan's apartment?
Elsa demanded.
I did it to protect you, Mum.
Nadia explained. Just when Nadia thought that she was checkmate, her mum's affection for Jonathan proved stronger than whatever the teenager was trying to save her from.
You will pack your bags and go to Aunt Christie's place tomorrow morning. I will not have you breaking and entering into people's home for some baseless suspicion,
Elsa said. Nadia was heartbroken. She didn't believe that her mother would choose a stranger over her. She cried throughout the night, while Elsa went back to Jonathan's place and apologized to him. Jonathan explained that he knew Nadia was the responsible for it, and that's why he didn't call the cops when she asked him to. When Elsa asked how he knew, Jonathan explained that the teenager has been stalking him for days and has been seen around his apartment. This made Elsa more furious with her daughter and more sympathetic with her lover. At dawn, Nadia packed her bags and left the house before her mother could wake up and prepare her for her aunt's place. She only left a note for her mom, saying,
I didn't want to hear the false goodbye and I love you from you. That's why I did not wait for you to wake up. I have gone to Aunt Christie's place. You can have all the time with your strange lover now.
Although Elsa wasn't happy with how Nadia took the reproof, she was okay with her daughter going to stay with her younger sister for a while. Despite moving to Aunt Christie's place, the young girl was still determined to unmask Jonathan for who he really is. She wasn't giving up because she believed her mother was more vulnerable with her out of the house. At Aunt Christie's place, Nadia met with her cousin TJ, and they both teamed up to help find out everything there was to know about her mother's strange lover. Fortunately, TJ was a better IT person than she is, and he helped her with his tech skills. Nadia used all the names she found in Jonathan's apartment to get an address in a different state. The address belonged to Jonathan. The two teenagers wondered why Jonathan had another apartment in a different state and Elsa wasn't aware of it. They needed to find out. They got the phone number attached to the address, but it was not connecting. The only way was to visit the address, which was almost impossible with Aunt Christie's stringent rules. However, the teenagers came up with a clever plan. They enrolled for a 1-week boot camp in the state. Auntie Christie was excited to let them go on an educative boot camp. On the 4th day of the boot camp, Nadia and TJ left the camp to the address. Nadia made sure TJ had everything on camera. A young woman answered the door at the address, and Nadia and TJ lied that they were interning under Jonathan, and he gave them permission to check up on her whenever they were in the city. Although the young woman was surprised to see the teenagers, she let them in and talked with them about her family. It was worse than Nadia thought. Jonathan was married with 3 children, but lied to her mother that he was a single IT guy who just moved into town. The young girl kept calm and enjoyed her time with Jonathan's wife. They went back to camp and forwarded the recordings to Elsa. Elsa watched the video and was disappointed with herself for not listening to her daughter. She was shattered, knowing that she chose a stranger over her family. Elsa called the cops on Jonathan, and they arrested him for further investigation. The single mother realized that Nadia's actions were guided by her love for her mother and not the jealousy she accused her of. Elsa traveled to meet Nadia at Aunt Christie's place. She pleaded for forgiveness from her daughter, but the young girl already forgave her mother. When Elsa and Nadia returned home, the police informed them that she wasn't Jonathan's first victim. Jonathan has been targeting wealthy single women and scamming them of their money. They also informed her that Jonathan has been watching her for years before he finally struck. He sent a professional pickpocket to steal Nadia's wallet so that he would have something tangible to draw her to him. The cops also informed Jonathan's wife of her husband's numerous romance scams. She was heartbroken, as she didn't know about any of it. Jonathan was later sentenced to 8 years in jail for multiple romance scams. Elsa decided to settle only for a man her little detective daughter approves. She wasn't going to let anyone come between her and her daughter again. If you enjoyed this story, please support us by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next story.